And we are live. How's your voice today, Podfeed?
I'm doing great. This is awesome.
You sounded good.
Yeah.
It's going to be quite a show, huh?
Yeah. There will be a show, though. It will be a full-length show. It will be a lengthy show.
Will it?
Yep. I got a lot. Should I just go ahead and try?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah, we had light pollution, and we've got the clouds rolled in last night, so fingers crossed it won't this time. So I think we should still go up and try, Steve.
I do too. It looks clearer tonight.
Yeah. It looked clear at 5 last night.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what should I do about this? I got to chew up this thing. I can't stand listening to somebody play with some in their mouth. Water on a cough drop. That's nasty.
Was it one of those eucalyptus ones?
Yeah. That's
which
rough.
enhances the effect.
Oh, yeah. Like, wow. Okay, this is going to be great. I'm going to be drooling now. All right, here we go. Let's just do it. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, October 13th, 2024, and this is show number 1014. Well, it's that time of the year again, my seemingly annual voice loss. The good news is that I recorded one of the articles a week ago, so I sound normal in that article. The other good news is that with security bits, I just stayed quieter than usual and interrupted Bart less than normal. But there is one article I really wanted to read you this week. When this happened back in March of 2023, my solution was to have an AI-generated version of my voice read the podcast to you. I used something called 11labs.io to do the voice generation. And while it wasn't perfect for its time, it was pretty darn good. Let's have a quick listen to how 11 Labs sounded back then. All right, I think this was too low. It should be higher. About there. All right. Here we go. Labs sounded back then.
Hi, this is Allison's assistant, 11labs.io.
That was a little too quick. Back then.
Hi, this is Allison's assistant, 11labs.io. As you can tell, Allison's voice took yet another turn for the worse. She asked me to tell you that we got some great listener content submitted this week, so she's going to hopefully move the content she had planned to next week so you don't have to listen to the gravel machine any more than necessary. We've got a segment of security bits too, so it's going to be a great show. We'll get to that content soon, but let's hear what she's been up to this week.
So that wasn't bad, right?
Hey, by the way, forgot to do roll call.
Can you do roll call, honey?
All right. Who do we have here this week in the chat room? We have Kevin and Bruce and Frank and Mike and Jill and Mr. Ed, NASA Nut John, Sandy, and Shy's back. Welcome back, Shy. And Michael West Bay. I don't know if we have anyone else in the sidebar. Anyone else that I missed there? Sounds like that might be it. Welcome all. Glad you could make it today.
Good job, dear. Okay. Here we go. Keep going.
This week.
Well, that wasn't bad, right? But I think today's technology is a lot better. This year, I chose a service called play.ht. It's still not perfect, but it's come a long way. You'll hear it for the Programming by Stealth plug and one other article. When I get my voice back, I'll tell you all about what it took to create this voice. Let's let play.ht take over from here. All right. Okay, I think I need a chapter here. No. Jeez, stop it. Copy. There we go. Copy again. Copy link. Paste. Here we go. See if this sounds more like me. take over from here.
In the olden days, iOS kept everything sandboxed in a way that apps weren't allowed to reach outside of their own data to open individual files. But with the aptly named Files app and an API to allow a human to do the picking, apps can now open files directly on iOS. So this innovation allows us to have a Git client on iOS and have it use a linked repo that's stored in the Files app. This means we can use any text editor. We like to open the repo's files for editing. In this tidbit episode of Programming by Stealth, Bart walks us through how to configure the iOS Git client working copy to clone a repo from GitHub and then open the files in his favorite text editor on iOS Textastic. Hats off to Jill of Kent, who explained to Bart and me more than a year ago that this was possible, but a fist shake to Bart for not telling me how to do it till now.
Well, what do you think?
I think that was better. I think it was much better.
Yeah, I hope people will listen to the whole article because I'm really excited about this article, and it's
now by better I don't mean than you. I mean from a couple years ago, just to make sure.
Good answer. Oh, I should put a bumper in there, shouldn't I?
Yes.
Let's see. I have to slide over to see. Okay, let's see how that sounds. Play.ht, take over from here.
In the olden days,
Too soon. Too soon.
in the olden days, iOS kept everything sandboxed in a way that
Still
apps weren't allowed to reach. In the olden days, iOS kept everything sandboxed in a way that apps weren't allowed to reach outside of their own data to open individual files. But with the aptly named Files app and an API to allow a human to do the picking, apps can now OS and
All right, you heard that. So now let's go here and give another bumper by part. So let's pull you to right. Looks like right about there is where we like it. And actually, let me move this. We decided we wanted it after the bumper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now here it is. This is it. Whoops. So this is 10 minutes of recording, and it took me about 2.5 hours to create this.
And we'll hear the story later.
Yeah. I'm going to play some of this.
Sure.
So
how to do it till now. So you may have caught on that I'm a bit of a tech nerd.
too soon, right?
A little bit.
Does it sound like it's stereo or something, like with a slight delay?
Maybe a little bit.
Sounds funny.
Hold on.
So you may have.
I thought PBS was supposed to come before. Did we already do that?
Yes, I played it twice.
Okay.
See where it says PBS right here? And I played it, and then I played the beginning of it a second time.
Okay.
What were you listening to, dear?
Something else.
Apparently.
To do it till now. So you may have caught on that I'm a bit of a tech nerd, but I also like to do some craft type stuff. But who can forget one of my favorite articles entitled Knit Like a Programmer? Today, I'd like to tell a story of combining nerdery, tech gadgets, crafts, and even photography. You may learn something that will help you one day, or you may end up shaking your head thinking I make things too complicated. This story is about a different craft, cross-stitching. Before we dig in, I'm going to assume that while most of you may have heard of cross-stitching, at least 82.7% of you have no idea what it is or how it works. The best way for me to describe cross-stitching to nerds is that it's like 8-bit graphics. You create a picture using different colored threads where each cross-stitch is a little block. And making a diagonal line of these little blocks would be a jagged line, just like in 8-bit graphics. It's also like a paint-by-number kit, because you stitch the color in each little box by following a key that has numbers associated with the colors. On a pre-made kit, 1 might be white, 2 red, and 3 green. If you're fancy and buy your own thread, the numbers are predefined. For example, the official number for blue-violet is 341, while teal-green is 3,847. The numbers don't matter to the story, but it matters that there are numbers for each color in a pattern. The last thing you need to know about cross-stitching before I launch into the nerdy solution is that each of these 8-bit blocks I've described is created by a cross-stitch. In other words, one stitch from bottom left to upper right of a square, and then a second stitch from top left to bottom right of the square, hence the name cross-stitch. Back in 2020, I told you about one nerdy solution for cross-stitching. In addition to these little squares, sometimes you use stitching in a line, not across, to create lettering on a project. Think of it as being like drawing lines from corner to corner of different boxes in a spreadsheet. My article in 2020 was about how I use the app Notability to create lettering diagrams for cross-stitch projects. The example I used in the article was a pillow honoring the birth of my granddaughter Sienna May with her birth date and name. I also like to put my initials in the year I created a project in a small area down in the corner. Just in case these become precious heirlooms for my family, it seems fun for them to know when I put the love into them. In my article, I showed how the grid patterns in Notability, especially for iPad with pencil, is helpful for designing the lettering that you might create for a pattern like Sienna's pillow. I could create this lettering using graph paper and a pencil, and that's how I did it for literally decades, but Notability makes it easier and faster, and I can keep these little patterns for reuse all on my iPad, iPhone, and Mac. This year, I figured out an even cooler thing I could do with Notability to help me cross-stitch, and that's where my photography skills come into play. At the most basic level, a cross-stitch pattern's job is to provide a grid that shows you which little boxes should be what color. Cross-stitch patterns can be good, great, or bad, and I'll explain what differentiates one from great to bad. When you first start on a project, the pattern will be printed very neatly on crisp, clean white paper. That's great until you start folding and unfolding it over months while you work on the project. The design on those folds simply disappears, and you have to guess what is behind the folds. It can also get raggedy edges as you repeatedly drag it in and out of your carrier for the project. My first advice is that as soon as you start a new project, make a photocopy of the pattern just in case it gets worn to the point you can't read it anymore. You also have the challenge of how to keep track of where you've completed the pattern so you don't lose your place. My daughter Lindsay and I have always used highlighters to mark off what we've completed. This works okay, but if you make a mistake, there's no way to erase your marking. Lindsay gets fancy and uses several different highlighter colors, but it does mean carrying around a lot more stuff. In that context, let's talk about good, great, and bad patterns. A good pattern is in black and white and uses symbols for each color, and then assigns a number to each color symbol. The numbers will go on little Ziploc baggies with the colors on them, or on little cards on which you win the threads. Maybe a cross means light blue 3, a dot means dark red 7, and a circle means medium green 12. So these patterns are relatively easy to follow because you can see the distinct difference between the colors in the key because of the symbols. You can imagine, though, that if there are a lot of colors in a pattern, the symbols might start to get hard to tell apart. You might have a tiny star, a tiny triangle, and a tiny cross, which could be hard to easily tell apart. A great pattern uses all of the symbols for the colors like the good patterns, but it is also printed in color to simulate the finished product. If you see a red square with a dot in it, you can quickly scan the reds in the key to find out which red they mean. With black and white patterns, you have to scan the entire key looking for that dot because you don't yet know it will be red. While I like the color symbol patterns the best, they do make it harder to use a highlighter to mark off where you've been. Finally, there are bad patterns. I'm working on a bad pattern that was the reason I needed to bring tech in to save the day. A year ago, I started a project kit from a company called Hirschner's that creates 4 adorable holiday gnome pillows. There's one for each season, and they're so cute you can't stand it. The problem is the pattern. While this gnome's seasonal pattern does use colors for the little squares, only a very few of the colors have a symbol on them. And there are 3 different browns on one of the Christmas reindeer that are very close together, and the colors in the pattern don't even come close to giving you a clue as to which one is which. Without symbols, you don't have a chance. It took me hours to sort the colors into the little baggies with the numbers on them and only succeeded with Steve's help. We sat there judging the colors under a very bright light until we were pretty sure we got them correctly sorted. Woody's had to help me with all 4 of the patterns for the pillows because of this problem. iPad with Apple Pencil. I can now relax and cross-stitch, even with a bad pattern.
I think we've lost your voice.
I was muted.
Oh, okay.
Having to use that mute quite a bit. When I was on with Bart, I I kept it muted, even as my default instead of as my mute when you got a cough. I just kept it muted.
Good idea.
Yeah,
I think that voice sounds pretty good.
yeah. Why am I not getting my? It's not putting in the chapter marks. That's weird. Am I doing?
Do you have the right field or area selected?
I thought I did. What am I? Maybe I didn't. There we go. Thank you. That's what it was. All right. So there's no blog post here. This is going to be Chris Cook and me. Right here. Let's see how this sounds. Oh, thank you. Save.
Even with a bad pattern. Earlier this year, I had the pleasure of having Chris Cook on the show.
Now, should I do a kind of ending saying, well, that's it, and you won't have to listen to this very more?
I'm not following.
So I'm going straight from the auto-generated voice to my real voice.
Oh, I see. Just to let him know it's back to the real Allison.
Yeah, I sort of feel like saying something.
Yeah, I would make a little comment before that.
Well, I'm sure glad you didn't have to listen to this voice doing that particular article, but we are now going to go to some pre-recorded content, and this is actually me. Okay. Now, let me slide this over there, and slide this over here.
A stitch, even with a bad pattern.
Well, I'm sure glad you didn't have to listen to this voice doing that particular article, but we are now going to go to some pre-recorded content, and this is actually me. Earlier this year, I had the pleasure of having... Okay, let me make sure we can hear Chris.
Welcome back to the show, Chris.
Thanks so much, Allison. Glad to be back.
Yeah. Could you hear her just now?
Yes, I could.
Okay, good. Yeah. All right, then we get to the end of this one. Security Bits was only 20 minutes. Go. All right. So now Security Bits music. And right here. I usually put the marker for Security Bits at the beginning of that music.
Yeah. I think that's fine.
Well, but that's different from what we've decided to do for the other one.
Yeah, that's more branding for the episode. Good point. The segment.
Yeah. So let's see. We did something funny here. Actually, let's see. That's me. That's Bart. Get rid of Bart there. Get rid of me here. Okay, get ready for the plink.
I'm ready.
It's not lined up yet, though.
Blink.
It's that.
Very good.
Okay, so. Get rid of that. Move Bart up one. Let me see how this lines up. A little bit later.
Boy, you don't talk very much, do you?
No, I do not. Let's make
That's
sure
good.
someplace. I want to make sure someplace where I do talk is lined up here. Well, how about down here?
Risk is related to what it is you're doing. And so he would like a law that's related to what it is you're doing. And then the more risky the thing is, the more safeguards you have to put in place. And I kind of agree.
That's really interesting. Okay, good. So we are lined up. Okay. So we should probably put in a Security Bits chapter, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shoot, I didn't write up a support the show, but I'm going to put one in anyway. So I do need to sneak that in here.
You're going to wing it?
Yep.
What a better way to sell the show than with that voice.
Well, it is going to be about that voice.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's make sure the end. You can get a first-hand report of how well it's working.
Sounds great. Thanks, Allison.
All right. Let's see. Support the show. I'm not even talking to entertain you guys. Hope you guys are having fun talking to each other. All right. I promised Steve 520. I'm late. Yeah, donate to pay for my nice sounding AI voice. That's exactly what I'm going to say, Mike. Well, if you appreciated not having to listen to this voice and listening to an AI voice, I hope you'll consider supporting the show financially because it costs $39 to make that voice for just this today's episode. Anyway, you can do that by going to podfeed.com/Patreon. How's that?
That's good.
Sweet. And we'll put you there. See the transition. A first-hand report of how well it's working.
Sounds great. Thanks, Allison.
Too big of a gap. I don't like dead silence. Have you guys noticed that?
Thanks, Allison.
Well, if you appreciated not having to listen to this voice and listening to an AI voice, I hope you'll consider supporting the show financially because it costs $39 to make that voice for just this today's episode. Anyway, you can do that by going to podfeed.com/Patreon. I bet you somebody's going to send me $39. Exactly.
And that would be very much appreciated.
Should have said her PayPal.
It's that time of the week again. It's time for Security Bits with Bart Bouchot. And I'm now pretending to be Alison because poor Alison is not doing so good in the voice department. So hi, Bart. Welcome to the show. And hi, Alison, I guess.
Hi, Bart. How you doing? I'm here because I want to be here. I want to listen. I want to participate. I'm going to speak as little as necessary to keep the show in the form that we're used to, where I'm going to jump in if I think something's wrong, and if something is needs to be explained a little more, I might jump in, but less than usual.
Okay, well, thank you for trooping on and doing your very valuable piece here by stopping me when I, need to be stopped. So I appreciate it. Let us jump in.
That's it. Good. Let's see. Did he? Wait a minute.
That looks weird.
Didn't look right. Yeah.
You all know what to do. Until next time, stay patched so you stay secure.
All right. He just didn't cut off his recording.
Oh, we got to hear that.
Which you can if you want.
I'm joking.
One thing. I sort of figured I'd play up the whole I'm standing in for Alison thing to make it funny instead of trying to hide it.
It's not working because I wasn't talking.
Ah.
Oh!
I was apparently hilarious.
Not talking.
Did you do that in... Is that something you could do on the Wave XLR end, or was that something you were doing in software?
Sounds a bit one-sided.
That was when I was telling him that I had made muting be by default.
Ah.
Okay, let's get rid of this. Ooh, what's that doing? That's weird. Why'd that do that? Almost done. Okay.
Show at this stage. Okay. A nod and a thumbs up. That's definitely okay then. Right, folks. You all know what to do. Until next time, stay patched so you stay secure.
You mean because I wasn't talking? Thanks. Thanks, John. You're always there for me.
Always there. He's got your back.
Well, thank goodness this is going to wind us up for this week. Did you know you can email me at allison@podfeed.com anytime you like? If you have a question or a suggestion, just send it on over. Remember, everything good starts with podfeed.com. You can follow me on Mastodon at podfeed.com/Mastodon. If you want to listen to the podcast on YouTube, you can go to podfeed.com/YouTube. If you want to join in the conversation, you can join our Slack community at podfeed.com/Slack, where you can talk to me and all of the other lovely NosillaCast ways. Not in voice, luckily, just typing. Anyway, you can support the show at podfeed.com/Patreon or send that $39 one-time donation to podfeed.com/PayPal. If you want to join in the fun of the live show, where hopefully I will have a voice next week, head on over to podfeed.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed.
Subscribe.
God, that was
Well
pathetic.
done. You got through it.
I did.
Hey, I'm going to plug since you're not doing so well, I'm going to plug something of mine. I'm going to drop a link in to
Thanks for
the
listening
chat room.
and stay subscribed.
Subscribe.
Yes, do that.
Yeah, so this is a link to a bunch of videos I've made about our safaris in Africa. The latest is for the bird lovers out there. Some of the crazy, large, unusual birds we saw on the Chobe River in Botswana. But there are about 27 or 28 videos in this list. They're short, between
Really short.
30 seconds and 3 minutes. So gander over there if you like seeing animals in the wild.
He's doing a really good job on these. I like them because they are short. You're not signing up for, here's my summer vacation. It's just, well, the one that seems to be winning all the awards is the one of the lions eating a kudu.
Yeah, that one's a bit graphic. I have a little content warning on that one. The others are not so graphic.
Yeah.
How do we see the animal one? Well, if you go to that playlist, that link, it'll show all of the videos in a line, and you can just scroll down to the one that says Lions Devour a Kudu. Kudu is a large antelope.
She didn't ask for just any, or she was saying all the animal ones.
Oh, they're all animal ones except the latest, which is a bird one.
The birds.
I think I've included 1 or 2 birds in some of the earlier ones. I think I'm going to do another bird collection from some of the other parks that we saw.
So my photos were done with a 300 millimeter lens, but Steve will describe your camcorder. Shai's asking.
Oh, yeah.
We were very, very close.
Yeah, for the most part, we were pretty close. There were some I had to zoom up on a lot, but it's a 4K, I'd call it maybe a prosumer camcorder, but it's got a 20-to-1 optical zoom. It's got image stabilization. One thing I found really handy, and I did this intentionally, I got one with normally they have a flip out small little display, but in bright light, those are really tough to see. So I got one that also had an eyepiece, which is good in the bright light. And I highly recommend that. Put that on a little single monopole or monopod type thing, so I could stabilize it a little better rather than just one of these shaky hand things. Not a tripod because things were too dynamic.
We were on a Jeep.
We were on a Jeep, yeah. So I was moving for the most part when I took half.
Yeah,
the time.
you were using it more like a handle, you didn't have it usually stabilized, did you?
Occasionally, I'd have it on sitting on
If
my
we were
knee.
stopped.
Yeah, if we were stopped. But if we were moving, I was holding it by hand. And then even then, there were times in Final Cut I had to do some more stabilization because I couldn't handle it myself. Anyway, that was fun.
Yeah.
I do owe Wally a good 3-minute video on a given topic.
Well, for Max Stock, right?
Right.
I think
I
bird
want to
would be
do
good.
the one on the painted dogs. I could do a little story, tell a little story with that
Oh,
one.
the painted dogs, man. Painted dog puppies.
Yeah, I haven't posted that one yet. That'll be coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. All right. I did my own chapter count. I counted 5. I hope that was right.
Well, let me...
Yeah, we do have a comment. Jill is reminding us.
Yes, we do have a comment. I count...
Better be 5. I'm already uploading.
I count 4.
Count the non-book, the one without a blog post.
No, I didn't. Okay, there we go. That's 5.
There you go.
Very good. I think
All
we
right.
need to go get a comet. Grab
Let's
a
go
comet by
catch
the
a
tail.
comet. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for coming. Well, Allison will be in peak form next week. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, it's usually a little gravelly for another week, but thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.